You can love someone deeply and still slowly grow apart. Not because either you stopped caring, not because something terrible happened, but because life became so busy, so expensive, and so demanding that your relationship started getting whatever energy was left over. And most days, there is not much left. I think a lot of people in our generation understand that feeling. Look, you work all day, you come home tired, you're thinking about bills, the next shift, the mortgage, the kids, retirement, and everything else that seems to be sitting on your shoulders. You may be sitting on the same couch as the person you love, but your mind is somewhere else. They are talking to you and you're listening, but only halfway. You are thinking about tomorrow before today is even over. And slowly, without realizing it, the conversation becomes shorter. The laughter happens less often. Date nights get postponed. Plans get pushed aside. You stop talking about dreams and start talking about problems. What bill is due, who has to be where, what needs to be fixed, what can be afforded. And after a while, the relationship can start to feel more like a business partnership than the life you once imagined building together. I understand what it's like to spend a lot of your life working. There was a time when I worked long hours as a security guard. I did what many of us were taught to do. I showed up. I worked hard. I was dependable and I kept pushing because that's the way you take care of the people that you love. At least that is what we believed. But here's something I learned later. Providing for someone and being present for them are not always the same thing. You can work hard because you love your family, but the work can still take you away from them. You can be trying to build a better future while missing the life that is happening right in front of you. That can be difficult to admit because most of us are not trying to neglect our relationships. Look, we are trying to survive. We are trying to keep everything together. But pressure changes people. Financial stress makes us quieter. Exhaustion makes us impatient. Fear about the future, it makes it harder to enjoy the present. And sometimes the person closest to us gets the tired version of who we are. The frustrated version, the distracted version, the version that has been holding everything together all day and has nothing left by the time we walk through the door. That is one of the reasons building something of your own became so important to me. At first, I thought it was only about creating more income. And yes, income matters. When the bills are covered and there is breathing room, life feels different. But over time, I realized it was about much more than money. It was about control. Control over my schedule, control over how I spent my time, control over whether I had to keep asking someone else for permission to live my own life. It was about creating a life where the people I cared about did not always have to wait for me to finish working. A life where I could have a conversation without constantly checking the clock. A life where I could make plans and actually keep them. A life where I was not always physically present, but mentally somewhere else. Look, building an online business did not magically fix every problem. That would not be honest. There was still work to be done, right? There were still things I had to learn. There were days when I doubted myself and wondered whether I was doing the right thing. But it gave me something I had not had before. It gave me options. When you know you're building something that belongs to you, the future does not feel quite as heavy, right? You stop feeling trapped by one paycheck. You stop feeling like every hour of your life has already been sold. And that changes everything. How you show up, not only in business, in your relationships too. You become more hopeful. You become more present. You start talking about possibilities again instead of only talking about problems. You start remembering why you built this life together in the first place. I think that is what many people are really looking for. They may say that they want more money, but underneath, they want more peace, right? They want to stop lying. They want to stop lying awake, wondering whether everything will be okay. They want more time with their partner. They want more patience with their family, more freedom to say yes to the moments that matter. They want to enjoy the life they spent decades working to create. Because what is the point of building a future together if you are too exhausted to enjoy each other when you finally get there? That is something I want people to think about. You do not have to wait until the pressure becomes unbearable. You do not have to wait until the distance in your relationship becomes too difficult to repair. You can start building more breathing room right now. Now, not by quitting your job tomorrow, not by risking everything, and not by chasing some overnight fantasy. You start by creating something beside your current life. Okay. Something you can build a couple hours a day, something automated that can continue to work even when you step away. Because the people you love should not always receive what is left of you. Okay. They deserve your full attention. They deserve your laughter. They deserve your dreams. And honestly, so do you. Now, if you feel like work, money, and pressure of everyday life have been taking too much from you, take a look at the link in my bio. Okay. It may not change everything overnight, but it could be the first step towards creating more income, more time, and more of yourself to give to the life that you are building, and more of yourself to give to the life that you are building. So guys, if you're tired of always being on, it's time to build something that works when you don't.